There we go. How we
So,
doing?
I'm good, fellas. How y'all doing, man?
Not
Man.
too, not too
Oh,
bad. Go ahead, Crick.
Hey, we're all right, man. We're excited to have you in here. We're gonna talk a little bit of this highlight, how you got into the game and everything. But we really appreciate you coming in here with us this morning, man.
no doubt. My boss told me that you guys wanted to talk. He said at the time, I was like, that's exactly when I'm done working out.
Hey,
So
perfect.
I'm glad to be on it, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, taking a few minutes with us. We've gotten to highlight this year, and we've been working with the league and whatnot. We're covering it all season long on our show, and they were like, "Hey, would you like some of the players to come on?" We're like, "Absolutely." So, thanks for joining us. Now, I'm just on here. They have you as Jedden. You
Yes.
go by that? Okay.
So that's my son's name.
Okay.
Oh,
The first year, we had to give a name. When we first started in 2018, we wasn't going by our names. We were going by like gimmick names or names that you wanted to get the attention of the fans. So my son's name in Polish is number one. So I put his name on my back because I represent him, and I feel like I was number one. So that's the reason I put his name back there. So every time somebody says, "Hey, Jedden," it's like, "Why do you call? Is your name Jedden?" Like, well, technically, no. My name is Tanard, but my son's name is Jedden, so that's why I went with that name.
Man, I
That's
love
awesome.
that. That is
That is
awesome
awesome.
right there, bro. Well, let's talk a little bit about your background, man. You've been playing sports a long time. You're a football guy. You're a track guy. You were at the U.
Sir,
You
you
got
see it right here.
I see it,
Got it,
brother. I
baby.
see it. Well, tell us a little bit about that experience, man. You were there in the early
Well,
2000s. Exciting stuff going on.
in high school, I was trying to be a three-sport athlete. I tried baseball, but my batting average was terrible. So I was just like a base runner, stealing bases. So I try to do that in between track seasons because track and baseball kind of collided with each other. So I
Okay.
go play a baseball game just to steal bases. They'll give me a little swing every now and then. And when I was done, I headed over to the track meets where I was, like obviously one of the fastest guys in Florida because you see I got a track uniform on now. And then football was my first love. Kind of a late bloomer. Senior year, I kind of did decent enough. A lot of schools realized I was fast. You can't teach speed,
Yeah,
but
that's
you can
right.
teach a kid how to play football. So I had an opportunity to transition from track to football because University of Miami. If you're familiar with Santana Moss, they gave me like the Santana Moss deal. They put me
Yeah.
on the track scholarship to transition to football. They realized, oh yeah, he really is a good football player. The first season, spring, they put me on a football, and I kind of fluttered with my career in football here. Started 3 to 4 games, was a special teams guy, but I always remained the fast guy on the team. Uh, I know you're familiar with Devin Hester, who just recently
Oh
went into
yeah.
the Football Hall of Fame. Andre Johnson, who went into the Hall of Fame. So I ran against Andre Johnson in high school, and I ran with him in college. And
Man.
Devin Hester, me and him, we played with each other, and I also ran with him in track. If you speak to them, they may say we had a battle, but to me, I always felt like I was the fastest. Big Dre,
That's right.
to be so big, he was fast. Devin clearly was fast and quick at the same time. But the one thing they can't say is I won the 60 meters my junior year in the Big East. None of them did. The
Okay.
one thing they got over me is they're Hall of Famer. So I
Hey,
think that kind of notches me a little bit more than
uh, that's a
my
pretty
60
good
champion.
measuring stick to
Yeah,
have right there,
yeah.
man. Well, let's talk about NFL a little bit, man. You got to share a locker room with some pretty incredible cats, man. I'm from Chattanooga, Tennessee, man. I am a lifelong Vols fan, and
There you
we all
go.
know Peyton is king up there, man. I want to know. I got to know, man. I've been thinking about this for a week since Will told me. What's it like sharing a locker room with Peyton, man?
Uh, Sharon Locker. So I wasn't on the offensive side, but I was on the defensive side. But you can hear his intensity in practice preparing for the game. I played with Peyton, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Dallas Clark, just to name a few. I wasn't able to play with Edgerrin James because he left that year to go to the Cardinals.
Okay.
But Peyton, to speak on him, because you say you're a Vols fan, Peyton was a perfectionist. Uh, the 2 Super Bowl wins speak of that. Could have had 3 the second time he went when they lost against the Saints. But he was a perfectionist. He was a locker room guy. If you was the offensive guy, you may think differently because he was really on you a lot. Aaron
Mhm.
Moorhead was one of the guys I always saw him get on top of because Aaron Moorhead was like the fourth third receiver. So Peyton always wanted him to be on top of his game just in case he needed to go to him. But you never saw him talk to Reggie, you never saw him talk to Dallas or Marvin Harrison because those guys were always on point. But, having him on our team, seeing his leadership, the way he led the team during those difficult moments, he was a guy that I was blessed and fortunate to see my rookie year. I got a Super Bowl ring to jump on his coattail that year, so I was fortunate to have that.
Do you think nowadays that we just got too many soft quarterbacks in the league? Because you're talking about Peyton getting on people. We know Brady does that. It feels like some of these older guys, the generation that just like retired. I guess Rodgers is still kind of in there. Feel like they got on you, but they never asked you to do anything they wouldn't do, and they just wanted the best out of you. I feel like nowadays you hear people complain about. We just heard Jamar Chase this last week said, "Oh yeah, we'd like to hear Joe Burrow speak up a little bit more, and kind of a raw dude." What do you think about that?
So that's a great question, and I wouldn't say it's the quarterbacks. I'll say it's the coaching staff, the environment that they let create, start letting that happen in the locker room because.
So he might have had his phone might have went out.
He's back.
About that,
there
my son was called. We always, like I said, right as I was done with my workout, I always talk to my son during this time. And it's on me. I didn't tell him I was doing a podcast.
We were talking.
No worries. We trust me. We get it. I got a bunch of kids around here.
But to get back to what you were saying, yeah. So I believe it's more of the coaching staff than the players. You say Aaron Rodgers is still one of those old guys that still demands perfection in the locker room. You recently heard Baker Mayfield. I ain't gonna say throw a jab at Tom Brady, but spoke on how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers facility was tight because how Tom Brady was. But I work for Fox Sports now. I work at Fox, NFL Fox. Okay. So we had that conversation, and we were saying, how do you feel that Baker Mayfield jabbed at Tom Brady? And I said, I don't think he jabbed at Tom Brady. I think he's just speaking on the fact that how he was in the locker room and how the organization felt he was, but it ended up winning the championship. And Baker Mayfield is kind of like a relaxed guy, but he's also an intense guy himself on the field. But I don't think he demands it from his players or his team around him. So guys who lead in silence, like you said, Joe Burrow, he was like that when he was at Ohio State and he left because he was kind of a passive guy. He went to LSU. He was not a vocal guy, but he spoke with his wins. He spoke with his arms. He spoke with how he led the team and became a Heisman Trophy candidate, but he didn't talk that much. Right. So, it depends on the locker room. Sometimes you don't have to speak with your words. You speak with your action, and it can end up being a Super Bowl. Peyton Manning never spoke unless he needed to speak. And the only time I saw him really jump down somebody's throat that was a leader or like a veteran, you want to say, was Jeff Saturday. And Glenn, who was the O-lineman, because obviously he was trying to get pressured. Obviously he felt like some things weren't going right. Jeff came to him and said something, and he saw how Peyton it's actually on TV. He's jumping down Jeff Saturday's throat, and Jeff's like, just shut up and throw the ball. Just shut up and throw the ball. And that's the perfect example of you can have that inside of a locker room, and it doesn't divide it. It just, it sharpens the iron against each other because, you got two Hall of Fame guys that just want the best out of each other.
Yeah, and that Brady thing, I knew Tampa Bay was winning the Super Bowl that year. Right after, so they just had won the NFC Championship game, right? And you got the younger guys, some of them are crying and whatnot, and Brady gets in their face and is like, "What are you fucking crying for? We got another game to play." Like that mentality, and it's like they needed that leadership in that moment. But like you're saying, it's not always that way. Some guys do it different.
Yes, and me playing at the University of Miami, we had a lot of, I want to say apex dudes. We had dudes at the top of the food chain here. I'm thinking I'm, hot stuff because I'm the fastest guy on the team. I was not as strong and muscular as I am now because I blossomed as I gotten older. But when I was in there, I wasn't nervous. I just felt the atmosphere in the locker room that, hey, guy, if you're going to be here, you got to be at your best because the transfer portal at the moment was not how it is now. You had transfer, you had to sit out a year. Guys feel that pressure. And they end up saying, you know what, I got to go. And they go somewhere where they can hide and then eventually blossom and say, look, I'm the man. But why couldn't you be the man at the place where there was a lot of dudes that were pushing against you. So that's how it is now in the college landscape. I can't say in the NFL landscape, but the college landscape, and there's nothing against those kids or these kids now. It's just how the culture has been made for them, and some of them are taking advantage of the opportunity, and I'm happy for them. But in my era, the way I played, it was, hey, the best of the best, and I will always want to be in that environment because it made me who I am today.
Well, what do you think about the NFL now compared to how it was when you were playing? Obviously, it's changed since then. Do you like it? Do you like how the game is progressing along, changing? And do you think you would play better now or better back then when you were playing in the league?
I don't want to say I don't like it. I just still I'm a little bit of in between because the game is now about protecting the players. That's what it's about. So it kind of waters down the football. So what's more important, the players or the game? Where the players are the game. So we want the players to be healthy. Now, you can see how a lot of players are hurt now. You see McCaffrey has 2 Achilles issues. Now, is he a tough guy? Of course he is. Yeah. I wouldn't, he's a dog out there. But the NFL is so, bubble wrapped that training camp, guys like him don't play. But how do they get ready for the season? Right. How do they prepare themselves? He's training hard, getting ready for the season, but there's a difference between training hard and putting those pads on and getting your body used to the banging and the muscle memory of your muscles are twitching in a certain way. So do I like the NFL now? Yes, because the game is faster. These guys are way more athletic than I can say when I was playing. Guys, the way they jump, the way they run, but I compare them like the Greyhounds. A Greyhound, you can get them for a good couple races, but you're going to be cautious about hurting that dog. And they're fast, they're agile, but one little tweak, the dog is out for a couple weeks, a couple months. So we have these athletes that are so athletic, so unique, and they hurt their thumb or their pinky, they're out for 2 weeks. I hurt my pinky or my thumb, hey, I can wrap it up and just go and play.
Tape it up and go, man. That's right. I got one more football question. One more football question before we jump into highlight, man. You spoke on the transfer portal a little bit there, and we've seen some stuff in the last couple of weeks with Sluka, the quarterback at UNLV, kind of belling on his guys there, and we've seen the defensive lineman at USC get kind of unhappy with his playing time, kind of done the same thing. What is your overall opinion on the transfer portal? I know you said you like it a little bit for some of these guys to get an opportunity, but I think we got to get some parameters on this thing, man. We can't have these kids coming in, taking a bag every year and jumping and going to all these new spots every single year. I think we got to get this thing reined in a little bit.
I agree with you. I think it needs to be some type of control over it, a window when you can transfer and how you transfer. But it gives the players control of their own destiny. Now, the guy from UNLV, Sluka, there's some complications there because the school promised him an amount of money and they didn't honor their promise. So I felt like he had the opportunity to flex his position and apply pressure on them to honor the deal. But clearly they didn't need him because you see how they performed, and they had a backup quarterback ready to go. So one man steps away, the other man inserts himself and take advantage of the opportunity. The transfer portal to me is a blessing and a curse because as a university, it can be looked at as a blessing because we got Cam Ward, who has changed our whole landscape at university.
Oh, I know. I'm a Coug, so I know he left us last year.
And he did us a huge favor and giving us an opportunity to be in contention for to be in an ACC championship first and then position ourselves into a college football playoff. But the other example, we had Tyler Van Dyke, who was a part of our team, and he was threatening to transfer to go to Alabama last year, and we obviously gave him some money to stay, but he ended up tanking, and now we are tied to him for the whole entire season because we don't want to let him go because we paid him a lot of money. So it's kind of like a abbreviated NFL, and I feel the NCAA and the universities, because it's not just the NCAA, it's actually universities too that have control of this. They should try to put some type of conditions in these transfer portals that these universities don't have to scramble trying to keep their season alive, and also to give power and keep power to the players because they deserve to have their name, image, and likeness. Because if you're making millions of dollars off of me and I'm not being able to see a profit off that, and I graduate and you benefit, I'm working at Walmart, I was not probably the best player in the NCAA, but I was the best player on your team, and I see nothing for that. I feel like these players should be rewarded for their services as an athlete first. Then the student part, that's just a blessing in disguise because they're given a free scholarship.
Because you're
right,
and
I'm all for the player empowerment. So I actually like the transfer stuff. I think some of the things going on this year, I hope it's just kind of a one-off deal with some of these guys holding out and whatnot. But I'm more so give the players more power, let them go make their money while they can. Yes. And I just hope the NCAA doesn't come in. Yeah, I mean, there probably needs to be a tweak, but we've seen before they come in and they make things worse, and then they take away power from the players, and that's exactly what I don't want to see. So I hope the players still have the flexibility.
Bush is a perfect example of like how he's doing the NCAA right now, and he is. I believe he has a strong case. Hopefully, his attorneys can articulate that in the front of a court. But he could have easily made. And when I played that year, Reggie was like the Jordan of football that year, and he could have made easily $50 million just back off his name itself. So he's going to open up the doors for, even though they're already open, but he's going to create a whole canon of a situation when it comes to making sure players are rewarded and leave the power in the players' hands. But I also, too, have to side with universities because you don't want this to get too out of hand and they lose the structure of what college football is.
Right.
Okay. Right before we get into highlight, one of our viewers has a question. He says, ask you about St. Elmo Steakhouse. I don't know.
St. Elmo Steakhouse. It sounds familiar. I think it's a chain, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's around. You remember Sizzlers?
Oh yeah.
I felt like it was like a brand like that. I never been there, but I've heard of it before. Yeah,
that's one of our guys. He works with us here at Game On and does shows with us and everything. He's a big Colts fan, man. He's from up around that way,
and that's where I heard it from because I think it was in Indianapolis.
Oh yeah, I believe that's probably I would say
that makes sense. That makes sense. Highlight. What got you into highlight?
So I'm gonna compress this because it's a very, very long story. University of Miami, we have our athletic department. The casino they used to own, the owners that used to own the casino of Magic City are huge donors to our university. Dog racing is illegal now, but they knew in 2018 that it was going to become illegal, so they had to transition to another pari-mutuel sport. Highlight and the players have a union, and they were trying to stay away from signing players that was a part of a union because they didn't want to. They was obviously want to save money, and they felt like, okay, the sport is not too hard to learn. That's just get some guys from the University of Miami, basketball, football, track, whatever sport, and teach them how to play the sport. The email went out. I saw the email. I was like, this got to be a scam. So I ignored it, and 3 days later, a guy who used to work with us, his name was Dan Lichardi, he direct messaged me and said, hey, can I talk to you because I Googled you and I see that you're pretty in shape and I want to know if you want to try this out. So I spoke to him and he made it real short and simple. He's like, look, I just want you to come out here and try out. If you like it, we can work something out. If you don't, we'll send you back home. Came out, and I'm familiar with highlight because I'm from Miami. Came out, we had to run with a ball inside the cesta around the court, and that was it. I'm like, okay, I'm hired? It's just that fast. Like, yep, you're hired. And 3 months later, I realized, like, okay, I see why it was so easy because they were trying to find guys and they couldn't find anybody. And I was one of the few guys that tried out. And the learning curve was, I want to say, just difficult. Because learning how to throw the ball with something that's attached to your hand that you can't feel is a unique experience. And it took a lot of me to go back to my be humble days. Like, you just can't come in here dumb because you're stronger and faster. No, you have to learn a technique similar to tennis, similar to racquetball, and be able to manipulate the ball inside that cesta to do exactly what you wanted to do in 7 months. And clearly we didn't learn. It needed to take longer than that. So a documentary was made. If you're familiar with Billy Corbin, he did a documentary of us. It's called Magic City Hustle, and it didn't specifically talk about highlight. It talked about the gig economy of Miami and how we used highlight to make extra money because there was a pool prize of $400,000 that my boss Scott Savin put in there for us to win.
Okay.
So from that point in 2018 until now is like night and day. We are the guys who I originally started with in 2018. We are completely different players, and we are keeping up with guys who been playing this sport for 20, 30 years. And you hear a guy who's been playing the sport for 20 to 30 years and talk to us now, they would say, I'm gonna be straight up on this. Like, I'm surprised these guys have picked up the sport in 5, 6, 7 years because it's extremely unique and it takes a lot of fundamentals and mechanics and muscle memory to be able to compete at a high level every single day. So that's the way I picked it up. I don't know if you're gonna ask me the question, but I'll answer it for you now. Which one do I choose, football or highlight? And that's kind of the running question people ask me. I would say this: if highlight paid me a wage, not similar to football, but a wage where I can sustain a comfortable living, I can have some type of financial freedom. I ain't got to be a millionaire, but I got to have some type of freedom.
Right. Yeah.
I would choose highlight before football only because it's a mano-a-mano. It's a unique way of learning how to dominate a sport, and I just love the way I feel after hearing that ball slap against the wall and I score a point. It's like hitting a home run every single play. And football is a team sport, and I love getting hit. I love staying strong, but your longevity in that thing is really short. Highlight, you can play 15 years. Football, you can 7 if you're lucky.
Yeah. Right. NFL does stand for not for long.
Exactly.
For long.
And,
I understand that.
Frank Gore is my cousin, and he FaceTimed me yesterday. Yeah, he's my blood cousin. We're second cousins. Okay. And he was working out yesterday, and he still looks good. And he's one of the guys as a running back that played almost 20 years. Yeah. We're not going to see those guys anymore.
No.
And like he's like an equivalent of a highlight player. Like he played for 18 years and still, looking strong. His mentals are there. His body is good. And that's how I feel like highlight can treat, me as a player itself.
Man, awesome. I love Frank Gore. I've always been a big Frank Gore fan because it blew my mind. You see running backs in the NFL a lot of times fall off a cliff, man. After that certain point, 6, 7 years, they usually fall off a cliff. Frank was doing the damn thing for over a decade and a half.
If you needed 3 yards, you knew you were going to get it if Frank was there.
Yeah,
that's right.
He's going to get that for you. That's awesome. Okay, Cricket, you have so I'm looking at the standings right now. Tanard, you're on the Fireballs. You guys are having a pretty decent season so far.
From last year, we had some new guys that come in that needed to understand our court because each fronton is different, and each fronton has its own unique way that the ball moves. These guys are used to playing in big traditional courts where the ball doesn't come out as much and points are done easy. The point will last, give or take 30 seconds. Our points can last 2 minutes. And a lot of guys are trying to get used to that tempo. And we had a guy that came over from Spain. His name was Hernandez. Great player, but he's 41. He was 41. I'm sorry, not 41. He was 42 at the time. And the pace of the sport got to him. It was not he was not a good player, but he was playing against guys that had 2, 3 years on the court. And they were able to beat him easily. And our team was not as good as it is now, where we are in position because we got guys who played on the court now. And we got our captain, who's Inaki, who is hurt, but he's still leading by making himself present every single day to coach us up.
I was going to say that. We've seen some forfeits have to happen in recent matches and everything. I mean, injuries, that ball's hard, man. Y'all humming that thing around about between 130, 150 miles an hour out there.
Yes.
Injuries pretty prevalent in this too, aren't they, man? Yes,
sir. That ball, if you didn't know how to play the sport, you see that thing coming off the wall, you will be intimidated to a certain degree. But it's the hand-eye coordination. After you've been playing the sport for a while on our court, you can be able to track the ball. Now, the wall on our court sometimes make the ball does wonky little bounces that you have to be prepared for it. But that's, every 200 throw that happens. But, yeah, the ball moves really fast. it's something called a rebote, that the ball comes off the back wall and it always comes out. You always have to be prepared for it because it can get up on you and you won't be able to make a play on the ball. So
do you like singles or doubles better? Matches better?
So in my division, unfortunately, I don't get to play singles. When I was a 5, I was able to play singles, and that's a good question because a lot of people ask me that. I would prefer to play singles because I want to be able to, impose my will and show that I'm better than this individual person.
Right.
Because it's obviously it's just a not a pride thing, but a sense of like I want to show you that I'm better than you. It sounds like pride, but it's not. I just want to show you I'm better than you. But doubles, when it comes to the schematics of the game, I'd rather play that because I also have a partner that if he's good, I can rely on if I'm having a bad game. And two, it gives us more points going towards the final outcome of the game that you get 1.5 compared to 1 point. And doubles is the way to go. So the way our sport is, doubles is what the feature because Scott loves doubles. And I like doubles, but if I had a preference, I would like to play singles.
I was going to ask you, how do you guys decide the divisions? You said we're Division 5, we're Division 6. Is this something you guys can maybe challenge each other at practice, or how does the divisions work?
So we have people in position who do the eye test. We our general managers, Stu, our player manager, Ara, we call him GR, and we have Scott, who's the founder, CEO, and the boss man. They do the eye test. They've seen us for the past 8 years, guys like me, and you have guys who came over from Spain that Stu, who's kind of in the general manager, has an understanding of their quality of play, and they gauge it off that. Now I may be a 6 in theory, but I can play in the 5 division. 4 is a push because those guys are just a smidge better than me. If I'm on my A game, like if I'm throwing the ball, if I'm throwing the rebotes, if I'm locked in, I can play as a really high 5, low 4. When I'm playing like poop and I'm like, hey, today is not my day, I can be a high 6. So my stock as a player is high 6, low 5. And you talk to me 3 to 4 years ago, I'll feel like that's an insult. Like, yo, I'm a 5, man. What you talking about? But the way my body is, I'm 41. I care more about the quality of play because I want to put a good product out there. And if we got eyes on us and I'm having a bad game as a 5, I'd rather stay at a 6, give them a good game as a doubles player, and keep the viewership going in because it's all about football. How they say, the eye in the sky don't lie. I don't want to put bad tape out there as me as a singles player, and they say that guy's not really that good when I know I'm a good player.
Okay. Well, what do you and the Fireballs got to do to catch up with the Renegades here and make the playoffs this season?
That's a good question. So the way the playoff system is set up, the top 4 guys go. So it's not like the first year of the Battle Court, it was only 2 teams that were able to make the playoff. Second season, Scott made it 3, and the 3 plays the 2. They push up to the play to 1. Now it's 4, and everybody has to play in, and it's like the semifinal or conference final, if you want to say, to be able to get to the championship. Or the Super Bowl of the highlight championship. We are, I think, at 2 or 3, I'm not mistaken, and if not 4, I know we're in a playoff hunt right now, and we have a lot of games left.
Yeah.
So the most important thing about our highlight league is the healthiest team ends up in the playoffs. If you got injuries and you got a system or a group of your group is kind of like wacky, you kind of work your way out of the playoff hunt. So when we went into our draft this season, we had to make some business decisions on who was our 4, who was our 3, and our 1 is hurt, but we have a 2 and a guy named Alex Formachea who's clearly a 1.
He's one of our favorites. He's one of our favorites.
He's one of our 1 guys, and he's I call him like an assassin. He goes out there, he's quiet, he does what he needs to do, shakes his hand, I'm out of here, and that's the kind of player I like.
All business,
He speaks with his game, and we have a really solid team this year. I'm not going to say a good team. We have a solid team because each game we've been tying, but we have not lost a game yet. So that's what I like about our team compared to last year. We lost a lot of close games that we could have won, but those close games now that we have the players in position to win them.
Lot of grit now. Yeah, a lot of grit.
Yes.
You guys got the experience. You know what it's like to play in those close games now.
Yes. The close games get me on my toes. If you watch our games, you hear me in the background screaming. I'm always talking to our
man.
players.
Love that. I love that, man.
That is awesome. Well, Tanard, thank you for taking the time with us this morning. Before we get you out of here, I want to get your opinion on is Miami going to go out to Cal and get it done this weekend?
Yes, I'm confident that we will. We had our test against Virginia Tech.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to keep my opinion about the last play of the game because it's extremely controversial, but it worked on our side, and we needed that. A 5-0 Miami is a better 3-2 West Virginia Tech in college football. So we can go into Cal. We build off that moment. It's an early game for us. We got to fly all the way over there. I heard one of the guys who work here saying they're trying to go against us. They're going to make us fly all the way to Cal and put us in that position to have an early game. So they're trying to put the odds against us. But I think we're built for this moment. Cam Ward,
at least your quarterback has experience playing Cal.
You took the words out of my mouth. He's over in the West Coast. He's been in that area. He's kind of his inner 3-hour behind moments. He is prepared. He is a true leader of our team, and I got my faith in Cam. I got our faith in the people that are around him, Xavier. We are ready. Coach Cristobal has these guys ready. The coaching staff had these guys ready for this Cal game, and we're going to walk out of there with a victory.
Love that, man. Love that confidence right there, Tanard. We really appreciate you coming in, man. It's great stories, man. Great to hear how you got into Jai-Alai and all that. And good luck to you the rest of the way to your Canes and your Fireballs, man.
Hey, go Fireballs, and it's all about you, baby. Appreciate you guys, and y'all continue to have a great podcast, man. Thank you for having me be a part of this, guys.
Thank you, Tanard. Brother. We'll be rooting you on this season.
Yes, sir.
Have a good one, brother.
You too, bro.
That was great, man.
That was great.
That was good stuff right there.